And then what was selected?
No. It's always the same.
Oh my.
That's better.
Everyone's looking at me like, is it special?
I know, I hate that she did that. Right.
Oh my god.
Well, whoever's going to finish it, it's not alcohol. Yeah, ask him about that. Say like, I want to add a little bit more about that. No, yeah, like, and there's family doesn't and if you say that, you need to say it's really a seminar.
No, 2008.
Yeah. Oh, like, you still have neck pain, you know, so you might just bring your pillow or they're gonna be in a position or whatever. Yeah, I was it's gonna pop up when I read your series.
Is that link? Are we having class or what?
What's happening? I showed you late and I'm so confused. She's like, okay,
Yes, on shopping for today and for the next back upstairs. I mean, you gotta figure out something. I don't know, right? Did you get a hiding? So the only one that's oh wait, after it has where do I go? Okay, you can expect to Are you sure? Yeah, up top. I thought it was removing.
Did you
So where's Miss Marshall? Is she coming back?
The questions that were required, there was still.
So how did you just download?
I had in my documents that thing already saved, but it's not and I found it on my desktop. Okay, so I finished it for you. You can exit out or get this.
So, but we can't save what we did. But we have to send what we did last year. That's
That sounds really switching it back. I'll just laugh. It's not tonight for that mission. I need to pack my house. I need to pack my house. Oh, I didn't show you my new pack.
So we have a window like right over here, and we
Copy and paste it
about 30 every night. It like works. This is what the other thing is playing. Better my current one. I love my current one. They remember to do it. But it'll be cool. Patio, like lights out there. Oh, Saltman. Yep, it's on top. Yes. Okay. I started watching that just but they're extending it. Oh, there. I'm just watching. I can't feel like she's me.
Have you seen them do like the mini? Oh yeah.
The trainer is like so cute. She goes home, she like broadcasts, she like she goes to the
It's actually kind of hard to hate it on. She's like on their tape. I'm not sure if there's anyone that I know, but I know there's one. As long as you don't so part of it
Is she starting this week?
Play some Drake right now. Play some Passion Fruit.
8 o'clock. It's always at 8, isn't it? It's always at 8. Do we need to first question?
Oh, I need to get all your
I can double check.
like that. It's really good, yeah. Start watching. Like, this one was just great.
I got my ticket signed off. Ticket stuff. Just got sent out yesterday. I get a ticket. My homie's dad that's it. That's cheap. So I take my smaller pictures. He signed all four of my details.
Bring you some tea now.
This one. It's like
Oh, this is the
girl. It was like one of my favorite times.
This is for the kids.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at that. Oh. So the kids, let me go to the kids.
I think it's like
So what? 1, 3. Wait, which one?
it's 9-4.
Excuse me, which one? Give up.
So no portraits.
Yeah, I think it's just
like no one.
Mean.
And then he's born in Korea. He's snuck onto a boat. It was great for your GCPs, and then he joins the Did you get that? Is that the
Yeah. No, I
what's it called?
Wait, so is yours this long?
Go over there and reclaim your property.
Did you die again? Did you die? No, I'm walking around too. I'm just like pretending to laugh. Trying to walk. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was really scary.
I know, right? Wait, yeah. When you're fully
So this homework is actually due Monday. But on Monday. Well, our classes are at like this. But this is due Monday by 8
I did this and like
It wouldn't let me save anywhere else. How did you save it both? Save?
I just
I don't remember. So I did that way. In that way, in that order.
We're not too far spread out.
Yeah, but where did you save it to? But then, I wouldn't want to know, like, where.
I think I put yeah. I used to have someone have that sticker on their car. Yeah, this one's my but I this is like the third
Wait, this one's in?
But I didn't click out of it yet.
But it's this one doesn't.
So are you dreaming about statistics now, all those numbers in your head? Dr. Oyoyo is fun. He's going to be helping you a lot with your projects, with your analytics. So, need to know this stuff. So we have to talk today about the syllabus for Portfolio. That is online now. The course is up on Canvas, so you should be able to access that. But before I go into that, I do want to let you know that you'll probably feel like there's a little bit of some missing links in your class as we met last night and had to make some really difficult decisions. So I want you to know that those decisions are not made lightly. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into it and a lot of discussions. And it'll change the dynamics a little bit of your class for a while. But I keep all of you in our prayers and for success. If you have any questions or concerns or challenges, Mrs. Friesen is available. She's our Director of Student Services, as well as Dean Ford, who's our Dean of Admissions and Student Affairs, Dr. Esty, our Academic Dean, myself, other faculty as well. So without, those people available that we want to talk to, I think things should progress pretty quickly and smoothly. So, but if you do have questions, of course, there's a huge amount of confidentiality involved in decisions. So there's not a lot that you will know, but we hope for the best for each of you and the students as well. Yes?
I don't think a lot of people are confused right now. They don't understand what you're referring to.
There's two of your classmates will not be returning to school. So I believe that you understand every quarter we go through each of your progress reports, meaning your grades, and look at clinical issues, look at didactic issues as well. And so we do that every quarter. It's the beginning of every quarter, reviewing the last quarter. And so those are the meetings that we have the first week of school, and they usually extend into the second week as well. Keeps us all busy, but, and this is for pre-doc, it's for any student in the dental school. So at that time, then decisions have to be made about continuation. And so there were decisions made for 2 students that won't be returning. So that's hard. It's extremely hard decisions to make, and it's hard, very hard on them as well. So just keep them in your prayers, and we'll move forward. Portfolio. We talked a little bit about it last week. This is what we call a capstone project, meaning that it's going to cover every single course, every single experience that you've had while you're here for the 2 years. And you're going to sort of pull it together, make it look like your own work, because it is. And for as much creativity as you could put into an electronic portfolio, you're going to try to do that. So why would you create a portfolio to begin with? I think one of you said last week you had some education portfolio that you did for some courses. What are some other reasons you might want to pull together your experience, show some of your competency? Yes, Tricia.
When you're, I was going to say when you're interviewing.
Yeah, good. So a year from now, you're going to be out there walking the streets, trying to figure out where you're going to work. Whether you stay in California or go somewhere else, go in another state, or go on, to another profession even. What are some of the other avenues of work besides clinical practices for as a dental hygienist? Research, okay.
Dental companies.
Dental companies, excellent, yes. Anything else? Teaching, yeah. Teaching, yeah. You can do course teaching, you can do clinic teaching, lab teaching. Generally, most schools require everything of their faculty. What else? Management, yes. And we have a graduate from 2 years ago who's managing many corporate dental clinics. And she had a business degree previous to coming in, and now it's sort of a nice segue for her to manage some corporate practices and hire hygienists and work on compliance reports, things like that for the company. Yeah. Anything else you can think of? You're starting a new course tomorrow in dental health education with Professor Loomis, Michelle Loomis. You'll get to know her quite well. She's a lot of fun. She taught at San Joaquin Valley. She graduated from our program in the 90s and then went on, did clinical practice, and then taught at San Joaquin Valley College in Ontario for a while in public health dentistry, basically. So community dentistry, dental health education. She's got a lot of energy, and she's going to sort of walk you through what it would mean to be a public health dental hygienist, working for schools, county, state, programs that require a lot of research, statistical analysis to decide if there's a need for the program. So some of you might be interested in that in the future. With a baccalaureate degree in hygiene, you can basically take any master's you want. Many of us have, a lot of the faculty have education masters, public health. I went through in ethics, then there's business. Miss Badea is going through business. Miss Withers is going on for a PhD in educational leadership psychology. So lots of ways to move, and of course dentistry, obviously. A great stepping stone if you want to become a dentist. And take on all that extra responsibility that weighs your shoulders down, but it's a great field. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. So, the portfolio will help you remember basically what you've learned here at school, what you've done, and support any kind of potential application or interview in the future. So, the homepage is just that. You know, I'm looking at a gorgeous rainbow. This was in Zimbabwe a few years ago when I went there on a mission trip, and just reminds me, you know, we start at the beginning and we sort of move across our curriculum to the ending, and it's a great ride. You guys will enjoy it. I have announcements here. Some of these are not updated as far as dates. I got through a few of them before we came. Just to highlight, the portfolio, the total project is not due until May 29th, 2020. So you have until spring of next year. But you're going to have benchmarks where you have to turn it in to get feedback and to make adjustments to it so you're ready for that final turning. So we're not going to let you go and forget about you. As I mentioned to you, you are now seniors as far as your didactic work, your coursework. You're still working on junior clinic requirements, though, as you well know. On the 16th of July, so next Tuesday and the following Tuesday, I believe, 2 weeks after that, I do want you to bring your laptops, which most of you do anyway, but we'll be doing some work through via live text. I'm meeting this afternoon with our advisor on live text, Christina Gutierrez and Lisa Nelson. So they'll be giving me some updates as far as the software. You don't have to worry about it today, but next week I'll have more information on that. I don't think I mentioned this to you last week, but we will be going up to the Victorville prison. Did I mention that? Okay. Good. So that's Monday, July 22nd. We'll leave here from campus. You do need to carpool together, easiest way. Does anybody live up the hill? No. The Victorville prison, for those of you who are not familiar with the California, is in the high desert. So you go up the 215 like you're going to Las Vegas. But you don't go to Las Vegas, okay? It's not that fun. So you're going to get off at the Victorville exit. And it's just about 5 miles into Victorville. And there's a massive complex there. It's a federal correctional complex as well as a United States prison complex. So what we'll be doing that day is getting an orientation to that rotation that you'll go through over the next 4 quarters. Actually 3 quarters. It doesn't start till fall. You'll go in groups of between 6 and 8 of you at a time. You'll go for 1 day. You'll need to be there by 7 in the morning. You'll get done about 3 in the afternoon. So it's sort of an earlier rotation. And what the orientation that we're going to be talking and learning about on the 22nd as a group is just what the expectations are, help answer questions that you guys might have. We've been doing, this rotation has been going on since 2008. So we're looking at over 10 years that our dental hygiene students are, really the dental hygiene students at Loma are the only students, no dental students go, it's only dental hygiene, and some pharmacy students on a volunteer basis go. I believe some of the PA students go as well to the facility. We've had, knock on lots of wood, absolutely no issues. They're very, very careful about when they allow you actually to go into the facility. So if there's any unrest, any challenges, they shut it down, and you guys don't even go into the facility. So we'll learn about the protocols, about what to bring, what not to bring, and how to act around the prison population. So it'll be interesting. Then you'll have a lot of questions. Yes, sir.
I think Ms. Lee was saying that we need 2 forms of IDs, and she was mentioning passport. What if some of us don't have the passport? What can we bring, and other than driver's license?
School ID?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're requiring now. So Barbara will be working with us the rest of the week. She would do it today, but she's not here. So, yes.
We're not actually working on the inmates. Though,
Yes, you are.
Oh, we are. So we do need to share
That's who it is. Oh, not that day.
Oh.
Oh, no, we're just doing an orientation.
Okay.
It's like coming to school for the first day and learning about the school, okay? So it's no hands-on. We're sitting in a cafeteria. We're not even in this system at all. It's called a CAD building or something. It's like an administration building. So we're not going into the facility at all. There's no tours or anything like that.
We get to try the food?
Hmm?
We get to try the inmates' food?
No.
Oh, no? I mean, just to see that.
No, there's no, no. You'll only be treating those who are incarcerated based on their behavior. So it's only the prisoners who are behaving well who you guys get to see. Now, they have significant dental issues. And they actually petitioned probably about 20 years ago the federal government to receive medical and dental care in the facilities in the federal government. So this is a mandatory law that they have to receive the health care that they're due. So that's why we go there. Is there any other questions?
We need to bring a lunch.
That day?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, we're going to leave about noon. You'll start at 12:30 with the orientation. They give us snacks, so, and you guys can eat a big breakfast or stop on the way up there if you have enough time. Yes?
So other than us, do they receive assisted dental care, or is it just?
There are 3 dentists in the facility that you'll be meeting, as well as at least 2 hygienists that work for the Bureau of Prisons and are trained as prison guards. So some of you, I've had students in the past who are very interested in that as a workplace. It's full-time, they pay a lot of your loans, they pay pretty well. So, but it is a commitment, obviously. get trained back at Quantico. That is just.
We're like giving injections and stuff if they're too.
We'll talk about that during the orientation. Yes, you can. You'll be given quite a bit of leeway to as far as what you want to do with the patient for root cleaning. But there'll always be a dentist there and a hygienist as well. So watch over. There will not be dental hygiene faculty there, but there is a hygienist there.
And we're sorry.
Yeah.
We're like logging in and stuff on the computer, we're charting and stuff as well.
That changes. So as of last year, students did not enter in anything in the computers there. But we'll see what they say this year. It's sort of every year, that's why we have our orientation to find out.
Okay, so when do actual rotations start?
Fall
or winter?
October. Yeah. So October would be the first group that would cycle up there. Generally, I think it's on Thursdays, I think.
And roughly how many students do you send starting October?
Generally, Barbara commits 8 students per day per week. Meaning on Thursday, 8 students go, then the next Thursday. So not all of you will get to go in fall. Those of you who go in fall won't get to go in winter, and then you'll go back in spring probably. So.
I have a question. So can we get any comps out there?
No.
There's no because there's no X. Do you take X-rays on them as well?
Probably not. No, they're pretty much worked up before you even see them. And there's the treatment plan, and the dentist is signed off, they've had radiographs. And then you're basically doing the hygiene procedures. So it's a lot of skill development and time management, because you don't have much time. You see them for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So it's a good way to build up your speed. And you don't take your own instruments. They have everything there.
So they're ultrasound.
No, and they'll talk to you about it. We'll have a whole list of things. So that's the 22nd. So that is a mandatory orientation, so you all have to be there. As far as these research presentations that are up here, I work with Dr. Kwan during this quarter to provide some extra time for you to work on your research projects. Now I know you all, have you been assigned to a faculty research mentor?
Yes.
Chosen some topics?
No topics yet, but.
Okay, I'm meeting with her at 1, so I'll clarify what's going on with that. But I do set aside, you'll see in the course outline every Tuesday, we won't always be meeting face to face. There will be some time for you to work on research as well as your portfolio. And as I mentioned before, there's no grading of your portfolio in winter quarter. You have that time off because you're going to be focusing on national goals. So we're going to do our first grading in December quarter, second end of autumn, December 6th is the deadline for turn in, and then again in the final turn in spring. Let me see if there's anything else here. As I mentioned last week, you'll be assigned a mentor specifically for your portfolio, and that'll be one of the dental hygiene faculty. And Barbara's going to work on getting you assigned to that faculty person. It might not be the same faculty that's doing your research project, okay? So it's 2 separate. Students get that mixed up. We have a mentor for your research project, and it could be the same as your portfolio mentor, or it could, might not be. But the portfolio mentor that you're going to be assigned by Barbara, that mentor stays with you until you graduate. And you can talk to them about a lot of different things, clinical issues and things, and your progress in your competencies, as well as your portfolio. They're sort of responsible for you guys in that small group. Next week I'll provide an abstract. Actually, I think it's already in modules. It's a short article that you would read about portfolio and then answer some questions. That's a homework assignment. That's due on the 30th of July, so you've got plenty of time to get that done. by the 23rd of August, plenty of time, that's on a Friday, you have, you're to meet with your faculty mentor for your portfolio. Generally, they either meet, they find a time you're all available, 3 or 4 of you can meet with them, and they talk about the portfolio, the development of your portfolio, answer questions, work on VIA, you're very familiar with that website. So that is a requirement for summer quarter, so you must meet with your faculty mentor by August 23rd. And most of them will get together with you far sooner than that. Of course, we already talked about Victorville. Your end of the quarter's portfolio is due September 6th. I believe that's a Wednesday. And when I say due, it means you've submitted it through VIA, through live text, to your faculty mentor. So nothing is paper-based on these portfolios. It's all electronic submission. And that is graded then, reviewed using what we call a rubric or a grade sheet that gives you the specific requirements for summer quarter. Then again, I mentioned August. Our autumn quarter due date is December 6th, and winter quarter, you can get feedback if you turn it in by March 1. It's a good idea to get feedback even though you're not going to receive a grade specifically. And then the capstone project is due May 29th. I do take attendance during the classes that we meet face-to-face. This is the PDF of your syllabus.
Miss Marshall?
Yeah.
I think the dates are wrong. Wednesday is the 4th, and there's another date that doesn't.
On what?
match the date.
For which submission?
Here it says research, presentation research.
Oh, don't pay any attention to research presentation. That Dr. Quine and I will work with that. All I'm trying to, I needed to just delete that one. But what I'm trying to do is set aside some Tuesdays that from 10 to 12 when we don't meet for portfolio as time for research or time for your portfolio development. So don't worry about that. Those will change. Okay. This mouse is horrible. So by now you're aware that the university as a whole has what we call student learning outcomes. And this portfolio project covers written communication, because you will be doing some writing and self-reflection. It covers information literacy, which means you've had to pull together a lot of different projects and put them in the right competency to meet this requirement for this portfolio. And then critical thinking. So those are final assessments that the university looks at every year that helps them know that our students are on track and meeting the program requirements. In addition to the university outcomes, we have, of course, our dental hygiene outcomes. Put this down. So where you see the BS in dental hygiene, these are the 10 core competencies that I talked about that you'll use to divide your portfolio. So there are basically 12 sections of your portfolio. One is an introductory section, talks about yourself. That's what you'll be developing this summer. And then you'll divide it into 10 sections. The first dental hygiene core competency at the top of the page there is ethics. Apply professional code of ethics in all patient and professional interactions. This portfolio is going to assess that at the final level before you graduate. Now, you're not going to be taking your ethics course until winter. So you won't really have a project, except if you did a paper or some projects in your Christian ethics and healthcare class. So you want to think back, what did you do for that ethics class before we actually take our professional ethics course. And then your competency 2 is a legal and regulatory framework. The ethics course is in winter, and then that's followed by the jurisprudence class, which is your legal class, right before you graduate in spring. So we'll be talking a lot about all the regulations for licensing, the requirements for state, and any kind of clinical experiences too that you have to have. Core competency 3 is critical thinking and problem solving. I mean, you do that daily. You started way before you came here to school, and now you're continuing that specific to the profession of oral health care. Evidence-based standard of care. I'm sure you've heard of evidence-based dentistry by now. So from the projects you've done in classes to the clinical experiences you have, one of the ones I know you're doing this summer with Mrs. Lee is your case presentation. So you're trying to find that special patient that sort of tested your willpower maybe, or had some special needs that you weren't aware of, that you're putting together with your case presentation. What we can't do in VIA, because it is not necessarily a protected site, could be open to the public, although we're not opening it to the public, but you could after you graduate. We're not putting any patient information into your portfolios. And your faculty are going to watch for that very carefully, because any PHI, patient health information, could, or even your own information based on your education or others in your class, can set us up for some HIPAA concerns. So they're going to be watching closely. You're going to do a case presentation. You can talk about it within your self-reflection, but to actually post specific patient information, you cannot do that. One of our key concerns as you graduate is that you're going to be able to continue to self-assess your skills, your knowledge, the value that you place on your profession, as well as continue learning through continuing education courses that are required for the state for relicensure. So that is one of our core competencies. It's a little bit harder to evaluate when you're in school, because obviously we don't know what you're going to do when you graduate or leave us. But we do ask for self-assessments on a daily basis in the clinic, right? So when you do a competency, there's that column of self-assessment. We're going to ask for self-assessment, reflection, and service learning, when you submit those hours into VIA, as well as in our portfolio. So we get a little taste. And of course, lifelong learning. You're going to understand the requirements to maintain a license once we get through our legal course in the spring. Research and service. You're taking research classes right now. You're going to all be doing a project. Obviously, that project can go into this portfolio. Quality assurance. That's just basically providing the patients a standard of care that we've taught you to provide. So when you look at your patient care and when you come back for re-care or re-evaluation, you see that there's areas that are improved, not improved. Those are the kinds of things that go under quality assurance. Communication, of course, with diverse individuals and groups. And then number 9, do you know what ADPI or API means? You know what that acronym stands for? Assessment. Planning. Instrumentation. And evaluation, right. Now you'll see a D sometimes, so ADPI. D is for diagnosis. That sends up a lot of red flags in the dental community when you put a D by a dental hygienist's duties. Okay, so we have a dental hygiene diagnosis, which is totally appropriate because we have to figure out who needs replanting, who needs beltrophy, who needs fluoride, any kind of adjunct therapies. But technically, the diagnosis part of that is left out in our, what we call our CODA, our accreditation standards. So that's why we know we're doing it on a daily basis. We know we're working with the dental community as well with treatment planning. But for the actual diagnosis, that's left to the dentist. A little bit confusing there, but it's moving. Yes.
So we could put duties.
You can put dental hygiene diagnosis. Okay. Yeah. So it would be a dental hygiene diagnosis, and then you're planning implementation, not instrumentation, implementation of the treatment, and then evaluation of the treatment. And then there's a D after that. I'm trying to think of yeah. People are always trying to expand it, but basically this is the basic one. We still work with dental hygiene diagnosis. The state of California allows that, but as an overarching, the American Dental Association doesn't use that when it comes to hygiene. Then individualized patient care, provide collaborative, individualized patient care that's comprehensive and compassionate. So the daily work that you do in the clinic is going to help support that competency in your portfolio. Any questions in on the 10 core competencies? Those are listed. You're going to be dividing up your portfolio using those 10 competencies, 10 sections. I'll be showing you some sample ones next week as well. Now these are the rubrics. Yes?
For the 10 of those, should we buy like a portfolio or something to start like sectioning out?
What you can do, I think that helps the most is create a folder electronically, and then just divide it up into the 10 sections, competencies. Name them briefly, like here. But you've got to know, in modules, there's a sheet that'll give you the full depth of the competency as well, the description. So you need to know that too, so you can start. A lot of the projects you'll find that you've done so far and that you'll do in the future, they are, they can cross over multiple competencies. So you have to sort of decide where you want that one to go. And it could be until spring that you're working on deciding. But if you start collecting them in those folders, then you'll know where they are in your computer. You'll be able to pull them up. If you want to do a paper, that's fine. But remember, this is an electronic portfolio, so you're going to, at some point, have to scan them and get them in there. So the first rubric for summer quarter is under assessment. Very simple. You meet with your faculty mentor, like I mentioned before, August 23rd. And then you start populating your portfolio templates. There are different colors, different backgrounds within the website you can use. I think there's more variety than there used to be. You need to create a title page. You identify currently what projects you've already done that can fit into one of the core content areas. And then you get started on some of the autumn quarter requirements as well. We'll go over that more next week, so I don't want to spend too much time. But the requirements are in this assessment part of your syllabus. Winter quarter assessment is, oh, that one, actually we don't do the winter quarter. Where was my auto? I just missed it. Oh, here it is. So besides what you started in summer, then you're just going to keep adding projects, doing self-assessments, self-reflections, in each of those sections as well. And those of you who've gone on mission trips, you have pictures. If those pictures have been, if they're out of the country, then you really don't get permission, is my understanding. But we have to be careful, so work with your faculty member on which pictures are appropriate to post in your portfolio. Because we want to, anybody who would interview you or anybody you'd share this portfolio with or just for your own keeping, you're going to want to have those historic pictures and keep them. It's a good place to manage them, but if you ever open this up to the public, we've got to make sure that it's appropriate. The minimum number of projects by the end of spring quarter is 25 projects within those 10 core competencies. So you've got to get at least 2 or 3 in each of those 10 areas to help meet that requirement. So under evaluation in the syllabus, you're going to see the grading scale. So under assessment, you saw the actual items you need to put into the portfolio to meet the minimum requirement for that quarter. You can always go forward, no problem. You just don't do less. And then under evaluation, you're going to see that we grade on a 4-point scale. So under components, portfolio design is concise with logical organization. We look a lot at your grammar, your sentence structure. We want to make sure that this is professional and well written and can be read easily by anyone who would be looking at it. It reflects the student's ability to adequately manage information and assemble relevant items to support each competency. So sometimes your faculty will say, well, it could fit in this competency, but it really has more to do with, say, the legal framework than the ethical framework, things like that. Professional layout, table of contents, everything's labeled and easy to click on. If you do links, which you can do within this system, they actually connect. Sometimes we get portfolios with links there, but they don't actually go anywhere. So there's the problems, yes.
So basically for the summer assessment, we're preparing.
You're getting the portfolio through via a template set up. Yes. That's what it is. Now, we'll go out of this syllabus, and I've identified the guidelines a little clearer, hopefully. So you have 2 documents you can refer to that talk about the actual grading. You must reach an 80% to receive a passing S grade. The grade is not posted until spring of 2020. So even though you're turning them in summer, you're turning them in autumn, and then at the end point in spring, you won't receive a grade through Banner until spring. But your faculty are keeping track, they're giving me feedback on your percentages and how you are progressing on the rubrics. These are the due dates for summer, and this just is repeating what is in the long syllabus, okay? So it's a little shorter version, telling you exactly what you have to do for summer, fall. These are all fall issues, and then into winter and spring. And highlighting some of the areas you might want to. I want to point out there is a Wholeness website, and there's some interesting surveys, information on that website through Loma Linda Wholeness that might support some of the self-assessments, lifelong learning, whole person care, those kinds of competencies that you're putting information into. The other opportunity you have is to go to the Wholeness series that is held starting fall quarter. Usually it's been on Wednesdays. I haven't heard anything different from 5 to 6. And it's a tough time. Most of you have clinic Wednesdays in fall. But those of you who aren't on, there's some really interesting topics on potentially resume writing, just stresses of school, those types of educational opportunities to go and listen to speakers would help support that as well as this portfolio. In fact, that whole series, Wholeness series, that's held every month throughout the school year, starting in fall, that supports, if you're familiar with school of allied health professions, each of those professions has to do a portfolio as well. And it was developed, that Wednesday evening series, to support their portfolio. So it's good if you attend a couple of those. I think you'll see how they apply to what you're trying to develop as well. This is information that Mrs. Armstrong has collected over the years. There is, and I'll talk about this next week as well, there's a little textbook by Helen Barrett, yes. And if you Google e-portfolio, and things come up, and it's all basically what Helen Barrett has written on electronic portfolio. There's different ways you can look at developing a portfolio. It can be reflective, which basically yours is. It's a presentation portfolio. A lot of people work on portfolios for years, so they take this little piece that you're doing while you're in school and they just keep adding to it, especially if you get into business or into research, any kind of corporate work. You're going to always have to have at your fingertips, what you've done in the past to support your growth and development in your profession. So as teaching as well, we have to create portfolios every time we want to get a raise or go up in rank or do your master's. So it's the first step in creating, hopefully, something you'll use throughout your life. Okay, any questions on, is it as clear as mud right now? Look at the modules real quick. So as I mentioned, this is the document that lists the 10 core competencies for dental hygiene. So when I start writing our self-study to get reaccredited in 2023, this is my outline. So I use the same outline you guys do to prove that we've helped our students reach competency for an entry-level dental hygiene degree. So that's the wording, that's the description, and it's up to you then to use those and find the projects and the experiences that you've had in school, through service learning, block rotations, clinic experiences, to support your learning in those areas. And I have given you a list of your courses. And this would be a good way, you mentioned, do I start collecting? I would encourage you to do the electronic files. So this is a list of courses that you've either finished or will be taking. And if you start looking at some of the, especially this summer, you're going to have quite a few projects with Dental Health Education 1. Then you'll have Dental Health Education 2 in the fall, and you'll have Community Dentistry or Public Health Dentistry in the winter. So those courses there's tons of projects and requirements in those courses. And then when you get into ethics and the law side of it as well, there'll be some projects, some papers you have to write and things too. So you'll have plenty. It doesn't seem like you probably have a lot right now, but start thinking about it. And do incorporate what you've done in religion classes as well, because that supports the wholeness that we are hoping for here on campus. I don't think I've taken any courses out here. So did you have to do any, oh, I just lost the name of it. For MedComp, did you do case presentations?
Yeah.
Or at least an overview of different diseases? Okay, good. Those are kinds of projects you're going to need. Anything for farm?
We did
Yeah,
What?
we did them in class.
Okay, that counts.
But we don't have it in like any form. It was like he had a PowerPoint up and we talked it out.
Okay. So you can reflect on that in your patient management.
That competency.
I'm trying to figure the name. Okay, you have a disease, you have a medication you're using for that disease, and you write up soaping. Have you done soaping? Okay, I just totally blanked on soaping. Excellent way to support your competency in your ADPI assessment, planning, those kinds of issues. Keep thinking about that. You'll do a senior case presentation as well with a patient that you've worked with. Junior one is just a small sample of what you're going to have to do for Mrs. Ellington. You'll learn about that before. One more area. So I need to go back in and revise a few of these rubrics. Don't worry about that section right now. And next week we're going to be working with the VIA instruction guide as well as portfolio preps and some samples. So nothing except to bring your computer for next week. Be ready with your login for live text if you haven't tried that. You can link it here on Canvas, or you can just log into livetext.com, and you should all have a username and a password. Yes?
Will our blocks at the prison, can they be used for service starting at all?
Oh, they are.
They are.
Yeah, you can, 7 or 8 hours. No, that's a bulk of your service learning. Yes?
I was going to ask the same thing for the HIV. Is that
Anything you do outside of the actual clinic on East Wing, how was it yesterday? Weird? Yeah. Yeah. A little more walking.
Other than watching.
I can't find anything.
Can't find anything. But do you remember when you start working in the real world? And even those of you going on to dental school, you'll be assigned. A lot of you will probably go out and do some temping for a while. You have to walk into an operatory, set it up, and start working. You have about 10 minutes. So it's getting you used to a new location. It's tough. Okay, I think we're done for today. And I'll see you next week. Oh, do remember, I'm sorry, Monday, 2:30. Remember, we don't have clinic Monday afternoon. We're doing our Careers in Dentistry workshop.
At 2:30.
Be ready at 2:30. We're going to be down in the amphitheaters, level 1, level 2. And Miss Lee, she has to remind you tomorrow. Please, Sabine, ask her exactly what to bring. So, OHC typodons and your scaling typodons. And then Miss Lynn will be talking to you about your